In previous videos, I stripped out the back seat area in the trunk. Now we're going to remove some of the interior trim, the center console, the passenger seat, and the rear carpet. Let's start with the A, B, and C pillar trim. In a previous video, I already removed the C pillar trim, but the A and B pillar trim needs to be removed. The A pillar trim has a plastic strip that covers up the mounting screws, but on my car that piece was missing. You can pry it off with a trim tool or a screwdriver. Then you'll see the 3 mounting screws underneath. Then I pulled the trim piece out. There are plastic tabs on the bottom that fit into the dash. Like all the other plastic in this car, they were brittle and they broke. Next we'll remove the B pillar trim. The correct way is to remove the bottom piece first, then the top. But I didn't really care because I'm throwing this stuff in the garbage anyway. The entire interior of this car is completely trashed, and the plastic is falling apart anyway. Okay, next I'll remove the fake wood trim on the door panels in the dash. This is really easy to remove. You just pull it off. On the doors you start at the rear edge, then slide it out from under the door handle trim. All 4 doors are the same. On the dash you need to remove the passenger side piece first. You can use a trim tool or putty knife or whatever. Now you can remove the piece above the radio. And last but not least, there's also a trim piece on the driver's side. Let's move on to the center console. The armrest needs to be removed before you can remove the console. On my car, it was already removed. That saved me some work. I removed the cup holder and the coin tray, but later realized that wasn't necessary. The next step is to remove the rear ashtray. It just pulls out. It also has an electrical plug. Now you'll see 2 Phillips head screws in there. Those are the rear mounting screws for the console. They need to be removed. Now we'll remove the boot for the parking brake lever. It's attached to the console with 2 clips, one in front and one in back. You can pop them with a screwdriver, then the entire handle and boot slides off the parking brake lever. At this point the console should be able to come out. Lift up on the back end and pull it to the rear. There's also an electrical plug that needs to be detached. And now we can remove the center console. Going back to the parking brake, I'm not going to delete it right now. So I'm going to reinstall the handle, but I don't need the leather boot anymore. So I used a razor blade to cut the stitches on the boot and removed it from the handle. Then I put the handle back in the parking brake lever. Anyway, the console support also needs to be removed. There are 3 bolts that attach it to the floor. Two of those bolts also attach the parking brake lever to the floor, so I had to reinstall those. Next, we'll work on the front part of the console. The cubby hole below the climate control is easy to remove. Just move the shifter out of the way and pull it out. To remove the ashtray, you first need to detach the shifter bezel. The shifter boot just pops loose. It has plastic clips around the bottom. The shifter bezel has 2 Phillips screws that need to be removed. You can probably just remove the shifter bezel out of the way to get at the mounting screws for the ashtray. But I removed the bezel just to give myself more working room. That also required unplugging the 2 electrical plugs under the bezel. The ashtray has 4 Phillips screws. On my car, all those mounting tabs were broken, so I just pulled it out. There's also an electrical plug for the ESC switch. In the future, I might make a piece to replace the shifter bezel, but for now I'll just reinstall it. Next up is the passenger seat and seat belt. Part of the seat belt attaches to the seat frame, so we'll remove that first. Now we can remove the seat. There are 2 bolts at the back and 2 nuts at the front. I found it was easier to adjust the seat back and forth for better access to the mounting bolts. Also, there's an electrical plug under the seat. There's a black plastic tab on the side that you pull out to unlock the plug. I detached the wiring from the seat frame so you can see what I'm doing, but you don't need to do that. Alright, let's get the seat out of the car. This thing's pretty hefty. Since the seat is gone, I don't need that seat belt anymore, so let's remove it. First, we'll remove this little metal bar. The top of the seat belt attaches to the chassis with 2 bolts. The bottom of the seat belt attaches to the chassis with 1 big bolt. Last but not least, we're going to remove the rear carpet. The passenger seat's already out of the way, but the driver's seat needs to be moved also. I unbolted it from the floor and pushed it forward to get it out of the way. I decided to remove the carpet in 2 pieces instead of trying to tackle the whole thing at once. I used a knife to cut it down the middle, and I removed the 2 pieces separately. Man, that carpet is gross. I'm glad I'm getting rid of it. Okay, so how much weight did we remove from the car this time? Here's the breakdown. That's 101.6 pounds removed during this episode. And so far the total amount of weight removed from the car is 246.8 pounds. And there's plenty more that can be removed. As a matter of fact, in the next episode, we're going to delete the sunroof. So stay tuned.